All right, guys, it is time to discuss. No, you can't laugh while I'm trying to do the intro.
You had me laughing,
All
man.
right, we're gonna try that again. All right, I'll look at you because I started laughing. Oh, how now, brown cow? All right, guys, it is time to discuss week number 6 of the Caps Gaming Showcase. I'm No Sleeves, he's Scheckel, and we are going to talk all about everything that happened in week number 6. And like always, we'll start with some numbers. So, 56 teams remain in the tournament, down from 82 to start. Again, as is it is as expected as the tournament goes on. Less and less teams are remain involved because they don't really have any chance in the playoffs. I strongly urge you guys to keep playing though, as it's the only way you're going to get better. Dahlia remains the only unbeaten team. However, they've only got a plus 13 goal differential, which is the worst among the top 20 teams. So that's rough, but nonetheless, they haven't lost, and they are the last unbeaten team in the entire tournament. There are 8 teams at 5-1, meaning that one of them will end up playing the 6-0 Dahlia, which means that there is an odd number of 1 and 5 teams there that would play one of the 18 of 4-2, and it'll slowly go down and down and down. So there's 18 at 4-2, 19 at 3-3, and 9 at 2-4. And then the Misfits getting their first win, a forfeit win nonetheless. They are 1-5, so there is no 0-win teams left in the tournament. 7 out of 30 series went to 3, roughly 23%, up from 21 last week, which again is kind of surprising still, as the further on we go, the more close skilled is matched up in the tournament, and still only 23% went to three games, so that is surprising to see. Speaking of surprises, Scheckel, give us some series that surprised you in week number 6.
Yeah, there weren't a ton of surprises. I think the overall surprising was that there was only 7 out of 30 series that went to 3. I think that's one of my top surprises. You had Composure versus Prophecy. Composure swept. We played Unknown Talent. Unknown Talent's a pretty good team. We swept. There's a lot of sweeps this series that I thought could have easily went 3. But to dive into a couple of these series, the Nothing to Prove versus Natty Light Knights series, that was a series that if you got to watch it, that was crazy. Game 1 was one hell of a game. They were up 3-1 with 15 seconds left when Nothing to Prove scored. Nothing to Prove had the puck behind their own goal line with 7 seconds left and were able to come down and tie it up and then eventually win in OT. Natty won game 2, but they eventually fall in game 3. So if you're Natty Light Knights, you got to be pretty disappointed when you had game 1 right there 15 seconds away. Instead, you lose it, and now you're 4-2 and on a 2-game losing streak.
2 straight losses, yeah, and it's not out of the realm of possibility that they don't end up 4-4, which could have them not in the playoffs. So
right, they could easily be 5-1 right now, but no, they're 4-2 after that slip up in game 1. The other series surprised Ground and Pound sweeping 6 cents. Ground and Pound started the season off slow, losing the offseason in week 1. But they've had 2 good wins this past 2 weeks, and they're definitely making a name for themselves. They beat Resilience last week, and now they swept 6 cents. So I would have thought 6 cents would at least win a game, but they swept them, and now they're guaranteed a playoff spot. So congratulations to Ground and Pound.
One of the series that has to be discussed yet again, because it just seems like they cannot not be discussed, was Montage Moment and Underdogs. And this series was going on while I was doing the featured game of the week, and I would be lying if I didn't say I had half of my attention on that while I was trying to do it, because this series is what makes sixes so good as an esports, event compared to 1v1, is that when something is on the line, sixes is just that much more entertaining because it's so much more tense. Again, there's no AI to rely on. There's a lot more mistakes that can happen in sixes. And when Montage Moment won game 1 in double OT, I believe, on a great play.
Sick pass.
Yeah, it was a great play. Everyone was like, oh my God, they won a game. But then they went to game 2, double OT again. And I was like, oh my God, are they going to win and sweep Underdogs? Like a fantastic esports team.
a tip or bounce away from.
I
taking
know,
that
like,
game
and it's
too.
funny because I was talking to John while this was going on, like while the stream was going on, and I was just like, man, if they don't win game 2, I got a feeling they're gonna lose game 3, like badly. I thought they're just gonna get smoked, like just how it goes, right? They lose game 2, and then game 3 goes to, I believe it was triple overtime, and I'm just like, man, you were 1 goal away from being, you know, up 4-2 on your record, and basically like almost guaranteeing yourself a playoff spot. But now they're 3-3. And that could have been the nail in the coffin, just because at 3-3, their goal differential isn't anything crazy. It's not very good. You've got to win out probably.
Yeah, and the one thing with Battlefy, I wish we could see the game scores, because I was talking to Owe about this. I want to know how many 3-game series game 3 was won by the team that won game 2. I feel like it's very,
gotta
very
be like
high.
80% at least.
Yeah, it's crazy how many times like whoever wins game 2 wins game 3. Last week, Entourage versus Composure, we won game 2 and game 3.
Yeah, I think that
it's crazy
when it comes to like that, just mentality wise. I think that because it's a 3-game series, I think especially for teams that aren't supposed to win. And for the most part, regardless if you want to win or not, you go into a game and you kind of have a feeling if you're supposed to win, or maybe you're not confident. You'll see it a lot more in defensemen, I can tell you that, because defensemen, you can literally see them be in a puddle of piss when in sixes. They're not very good. Like, the second that there's sweaties on, they're the ones that can't break it out of the zone. Like, you know what I mean? So, like, but I feel like when they steal game 1, and they're like, oh my God, we could win this thing, and then they don't win game 2, it's like just an absolute, you know, like, getting taken to the woodshed after that for in game 3. I would love to see that stat as well. I have a feeling that it's considerably, you know, in the favor of if you win game 2, it's it. But I just want to give them a show that
at least 75%.
I became a Montage Moment fan. I will no longer troll them. I was all in, and this goes. If Jordan's listening, whoever, anyone that's involved in esports, if you promote and highlight the players and not the teams, and give people reasons to either cheer or hate teams based on the players, and you highlight the players, it will go that much more. Because of my feud with Donnie and Nash and all them, like, I can't not watch them, right? And then I wanted them to win so badly, because they were just like, after game 1, I was like, oh my God, like, okay, they stole a game. And then they almost won game 2. I was like, all right, I want to see the upset. I want to see,
a lot of people want to see the upset. Like,
absolutely. No, it's boring when it's just chalk, right? So I just, full props to you guys. Montage Moment, you did fantastic. Underdogs, you got the job done, but man, like, I hope you don't get a real tough opponent this week, because that's tough. I mean, I believe Underdogs is 4-2 as well, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, they are 4-2.
Yeah, that would have been devastating. They would have folded 3-3. So
now let's discuss the featured game of the week. We had the Battle of the Unbeatens. We had Turning Point versus Dahlia. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to watch. I had the pleasure of watching Caulfield and the Badgers destroy the Buckeyes 5-2 in Madison. But Dahlia won 4-1 and then 1-0 in a sweep of Turning Point. I'm surprised that Turning Point could only muster up 1 goal in 2 games. But Dahlia plays a very defensive trap game. But I thought Turning Point forwards would be able to break through that a little bit better. You had the call for the game with John Wayne, so you were able to watch the series, which I was not able to. Who impressed you from both teams?
Well, I mean, again, as you've said, numerous times, anytime that we've brought up Dahlia, they play super stingy on defense, almost like Composure, but a little less offensive skill, I would say, when it comes to comparing them to Composure. But on the defensive side of things, the game was almost entirely played in the neutral zone, which was kind of tough to watch, as it was kind of sloppy. Both teams had a hard time getting in, but I would say this, that Dahlia's chances came off the rush a lot. And they generated most of their offense there, whether it be from Jay or Rizz. Rizz had a great game. Also, Bone Crusher has been playing nuts. He had a great behind the back pass to Rizz for a one-timer. That was a great goal. And then Turning Point, they really didn't muster up any, like, they were really hemmed to the outside. They would get into the zone, and it would be a lot of cycling around. Lou had a lot of offensive opportunities, whether he was kind of the catalyst for either shots on net, and when it really mattered, D-Rally was awesome in net. Like, there was a sequence, I did a little Twitter video of it, that it was a huge block, and then just insane save. I don't know how he got his goal. He didn't make an animation, but it was a wide open 1-2 about 5 feet out that could have drastically changed the game. But Turning Point didn't look all that impressive from an offensive standpoint. They just couldn't do much, but I don't think many teams will. Dahlia still seems to be an underdog no matter who they play still. I have a feeling that they'll go into their next matchup next week and not be the favorite. It just seems to be the outlook on them so far. But that being said, like I said, their defensive game is fantastic. It's 5 guys in front of the goaltender. In sixes, it's going to be like extremely difficult to stop. But on offense, they did look pretty deadly when they did get their few chances. But it'll be interesting to see how they play. I would love to see them versus Composure.
Wow.
Yeah, it would essentially be. It would be every single. Whoever scored first, it would pretty much be the winner of every game.
Right.
I could see it being 1-0 in every single game. I think that
You just don't want Composure to get a break, though.
I
man.
know
They
it's
got
like
4 tough teams in a row. Now Dahlia.
I did the math, and we'll do our schedule thing when it comes out. But I think there's only 4 or 5 teams that they can even play.
True.
And Dahlia and Turning Point are 2 of them. So I have a feeling they're just gonna get the craziness again and just get one of the insane teams. But that being said, Dahlia has earned the right to be undefeated. Turning Point was a very good team. A lot of people had them as like a consensus, potential land. They were always the one where it was like the top 3 were named, and then it was either Turning Point or something like that. So it's not like they were a bad team at all. And they played great. They didn't look like they were chasing the play at all. When Turning Point had a lot of offensive zone time, it didn't really amount to much until, like I said, there was this one period where it was end-to-end rushes, and Raleigh did what he had to do to keep his team in it, and that's all you need when your goaltending isn't really tested all that much because everyone just collapsed in front of the net. So good on them. I'm excited to see what they do next week. I think that next week will be their hardest challenge. No matter what. I just have a feeling that next week, if it is Composure, which there's a strong chance it could be just based on percentages, that would be a fantastic game and a litmus test for them. Because I still think that no matter what everyone views them as, they won't go far in the playoffs. They'll match up against someone good and they just won't win. And not really fair, I guess, because they are 6-0. But we'll have to see.
I mean, in fairness, if you could look back at different ESHL seasons, we had a team, Fearless, that ran very similar 0-5, didn't score a lot, didn't have a big goal differential. They didn't win a single title because, one goal, they let up one goal, their style of play hurt them.
Yeah.
So, it's a very good defensive system, but if they go down one goal, it's tough for them to come back. If a team scores 2 or 3, they typically don't score 2 or 3 as well. So it's got its pros and cons.
Something I've started to see as well is, again, just doing the comparison between Composure and Dahlia, just based on play styles. Offensively, though, is Composure will definitely utilize Odie, who's probably the most skillful defenseman in the game. Whereas Dahlia, with great defensive players like Mikey D and Nana, they just weren't utilized at the point. So when you have 3 guys that have to do all the offense down low, I'm seeing that more and more in all sixes teams. When you don't have that defenseman at the point that is not just ripping shots. Like, for example, Lou was pretty much the shooter. And while you at certain times you just need to shoot the puck on net in sixes, there wasn't a lot of creativity from the point. There wasn't a lot of player switching, and that's how you get things to open up when you're cycling between 3 players and the defensemen are being left alone, or they're just an outlet to reset the cycle. You're not going to score very often. So I think that they are a rush team. And but I don't want to take anything away from Bone Crusher and Rizz, who played great, and Jay as well. They did fantastic against Turning Point. So it'll be interesting to see how next week goes, because again, Turning Point is gonna have they could be the ones to face Composure. I believe they could play you as well. So now we're at a point with the Swiss format where there are no more easy matchups left. And these 2 teams specifically, who haven't really had the most difficult of road to here, they're going to have a lot harder ending, whereas you guys' schedule was kind of front-loaded with really hard teams.
Composure.
Not you, it's Composure specifically. Yeah, Composure specifically is just, now they're going to be tested, whereas, like I said, some teams
Yeah.
like Composure and are just going to have a much harder team. But that being said, we're going to bring on Rizz from Dahlia to get his point of view from his team and the game. So let's bring him on to talk the featured game of the week from Dahlia's point of view. All right, so like we said, we've got Rizz from Dahlia here, gonna talk with us, go over the featured game of the week, and Scheckel's gonna ask some questions and whatnot about his squad. What's good, Rizz?
Good, doing good. How about you guys?
I can't complain, man. Living the dream.
All right, congrats on being the last undefeated team. What was the team atmosphere like after beating Turning Point, and what helped you win your matchup against them?
Going into the undefeated matchup, we are pretty confident in our game. So even after, we were obviously pumped, and obviously being the last undefeated team kind of showed something. But we're kind of just trying to finish off the season, trying to lock up the number 1 seed.
And what helped you win your matchup against them?
Obviously, as you guys say every week, our trap style and our slow style. But, honestly, scoring first was a big thing, especially in the first game. In the second period, we scored right away in the first game. So after that, we knew we just had to play defense, and from defense, offense was going to come anyway. So yeah, our trap honestly won us the series.
How often do you guys scrim during the week, man?
Well, when the tournament started, we used to scrim 3-4 times a week, but for the last 3 weeks, we probably hopped on once to scrim. We scrimmed yesterday, but before yesterday, we hadn't played outside of the Caps gaming.
Not good, man. When you're number 1, you gotta act like you're number 2, bro.
We're trying.
You gotta try, man. You gotta act like you're number 2.
All right, who would you give the MVP award to for your series and the season thus far? From your team.
For the series, I'd probably give it to either Bone or Rally. They both played unreal. Bone kind of carries offense for us, and Rally is just a brick in the net. And then for the season, probably the exact same 2 players, honestly, Bone and Rally. Yeah.
Bone played really well in that series.
Yeah, our offense kind of goes through Bone, so you guys can probably see how he uses a pretty big build. So.
Yep. Yeah, you guys don't. I was saying this before. You guys don't really use your points a lot for offense at all. So a lot of it was almost like a triangle with you got the wingers down left and right side of the net with Bone in the middle. I mean, that's how you got your one timer. He kind of drew everyone in with that huge body, huge build that he used. So no, that's definitely a good season for him so far. Good to see that he's carrying the load.
Yeah, next question. Your goal differential is pretty low compared to many teams at the top of the standings. You're only at a plus 13. Does this worry you and your team at all? Does it come up during games or in talks about the season?
It honestly doesn't really come up unless other people are trying to bash us on it. But we're not too worried. I mean, we're first place right now. We have playoffs locked up. We're not worried about not making the playoffs because I feel like goal differential would only matter if you're 4-4. And honestly, if we keep winning, I'm not too worried about goal differential.
Yeah, playoffs, because I mean, at the top, regardless, even if you say lose next week or the following, even at 6-2, even if you only have the worst goal differential, you're probably not falling very far, and you're still gonna have an easier matchup than most for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
And final question: without picking your own team, who are your 4 favorites to make it to DC and the LAN event?
Probably, I'm sure everyone has Composure up there. Resilience is up there. Probably the Entourage boys, Scheckel and the boys. And then 4th, I like Hidden Potential. I think they're really, really good, actually.
It's funny. I said this earlier in the video as well, as after their loss to Legacy, it was they haven't been talked about at all. They just rattled off wins consistently now, and now they're way up at the top, in the standings and whatnot. But I feel like just no one talked about them after that loss to Legacy.
Yeah, even playing against them in scrims, they're kind of one of the only teams that can move the puck really, really fast. And it even showed against a really good team in Infinity. They kind of just dominated them.
Yeah, for sure.
I got something for you. Is there a team that you've scrimmed against or that you've seen or know that isn't a heavy favorite that you think could go on at least a couple round run?
Montage. No, joking.
Yeah, let's go. All right, there we go.
The one that we've played. I don't know. We kind of just play like the exact same 5 teams. Like we play
That's
Entourage a
fine.
lot.
Fair enough. That's fair enough.
We haven't really played that many teams like below us.
No, that's fair, man. Well, thank you again for hopping on and talking about it. Good luck to Dahlia and the boys the rest of the way. You guys are the only undefeated team, so don't choke. And again, yeah, thanks for coming on, Rizz.
Yeah, no problem. Have a good night, guys.
You too. All right, thank you, Rizz, again for joining us and talking about the featured game of the week. I can't wait to see what happens with Dahlia over the next 2. Again, they are, the perceived underdog even at 6-0. So next week will definitely be interesting. So let's discuss some more numbers after week 6. Clout 9, Kevin Bacon and the boys holds the last playoff spot. Good for them. With a 3-3 record and a +10 goal differential. If you're a 3-3 team with a not-so-good goal differential, you're going to have to win the next 2 series. And if you look at it the other way, if you're 4-2 with a not-so-good goal differential, you need to win at least one more series because some of those teams have, decent goal differential, in the 20s or the teens. And, if you've lost a few games or lost a few series, then your goal differential is probably pretty high, or at least something, something that's tough to come back from. So the best goal differential at 2 and 4 is an even goal differential. So those teams need 2 good weeks of play. So it is very difficult. Goal differential is kind of a hot topic when it comes to the tiebreaker, but that's what we've got. And we'll go from there and see what happens, as week 7 and 8 are going to be awesome to watch it unfold. Week 7 is really going to separate people from playoff contention and whatnot. So now let's discuss myself and yours, the top 5 power rankings, who we have regardless of standings as number 1 through 5. Do you want to kick this one off?
Yeah. Number 5, we both have Turning Point. I just think it was a bad week for them. It's a tough matchup. It's an extremely tough team to play in Dahlia. So they stayed in my power rankings, and I'm pretty sure you're probably thinking the same way, that was 2 good teams facing up against each other.
Absolutely. I mean, you can't. They are my number 5 team as well. You can't hinder them for losing to the only unbeaten team. It was the second game was much closer than the score indicated. Again, there was a couple saves made at the end of the game that were ridiculous, and just that one goal goes in, and it's a 3-game series, and we have no idea how that goes, just based on how previous 3-game series went. Number 4, we both have Hidden Potential, kind of sneaking under the radar, a lot more quiet ever since that loss to Legacy, which I feel like we should side note and mention them in a little bit, but ever since that loss or collapse they had to Legacy, I think back in week 2?
It was way back.
It was early.
Yeah.
Just kind of after that loss, no one really talked about them. And they've rattled off a bunch of wins, and they're my number 4 squad.
Yeah, same with me. They looked extremely impressive against Infinity this week and sweeping them.
No, absolutely. And number 3, this is our only difference in our rankings. I have Composure. Again, the big bounce back week after losing to you. Their only real loss was to one of the top 4 teams in the tournament, and they just keep rolling on with this insane schedule. And next week it's ridiculous because I have a feeling week 8 they're gonna play like a 4-4 team at this point, or a 4-3 team at this point, because there's no one left at the top that they're gonna play, which is even crazier because a team that shouldn't play them is probably going to play them in the last week, and that could really determine playoff seeding.
Yeah,
because
it could.
Again, I don't see them losing again. It could happen, but I think that it's just crazy. It's just crazy how it's gone so far.
Yeah, here I have us, Entourage. We swept Unknown Talent in week 6, moving up 1 spot because Turning Point falls. Otherwise, I kept my power rankings the same for the most part.
Absolutely, I can respect you putting yourself behind Composure, but you did beat Composure, which is why I have them. You guys at number 2, and didn't lose on the week. Played a decent team, and that's all she wrote. And then on to number 1. Obviously, 6-0 team, Dahlia. They are still undefeated. They, have done well, finally beating an opponent that gave them, or was supposed to give them, a real run for their money. I wish we could have seen that Prophecy Dahlia game.
Yeah,
because
yeah,
that would have been
3, I think.
that would have changed a lot of the perception here. Because had they won that game, I think a lot of things would have been different from like a perspective point of view, or they could have lost, or they could have lost.
Anyone watching, it was a forfeit. If you didn't know,
forfeit. Yeah, they did forfeit that one. So, but they are our number 1. And so there are our number 5 through 1 as far as power rankings go. One more thing that we need to mention, guys. A team was removed this week. I'm sure everyone in the Discord heard about it. I don't want to give them their acknowledgement because it was kind of classless and whatnot, but they were removed due to breaking code of conduct and kind of attacking someone online and saying some really, really dumb stuff. It blows my mind that just people saw what happened at the Gaming World Championships last year. There is you're in the very, very early stages of esports, whether it be for 1v1 and 6s. This is not paint all 6s players as being horrible human beings and whatnot, but for the love of God, do not post dumb stuff online, okay? And don't say this stuff. To be better people, all right? Like, that's it. Like you know what I mean? Like, if you hate someone, hate them. Don't say some, you know what I mean? Don't say some disgusting stuff online because you're upset. That's all. Because, again, you'll be removed like that. Like this whole team was in one fell swoop, which props to Owe and Jordan, whoever from the tournament that acted quickly. That was the right move. It's disgusting. Yep. Don't say that stupid stuff online. Don't be a bad person. And, that's all I'm going to say about it. The last thing we should discuss, because I guess we are kind of a news show, is one of the better teams, Legacy. Either they're sort of out or not. I have no idea. I can't wait to see what actually happens come week 6 because one person
they are out on Battlefy. They are
done on Battlefy. Okay, see, someone came into the Twitch stream and said, yeah, they're done. But I posted on Twitter and they weren't done. So now they are. Legacy is now out of the tournament. One of the better teams and definitely a playoff spot team. But the good news is for you guys is that means there's one more playoff spot wide open. So maybe Montage Moment gets it. I don't know. Huge Montage Moment fan here. All right, guys. So that is going to do it for us for the Week 6 review and recap. And we'll see you guys in a couple days for the schedule release. Have a good one.